So I talked earlier about the fact that content is not learning, and I want to talk a little bit more about that because that is a point of a lot of confusion for a lot of people. And I think that some, folks have gotten us a lot really confused when we talk about reforming education and we talk about, well, that means we need a different curriculum. We need a bright, shiny new curriculum. We need different standards. But that is not learning. Curriculum and standards are not learning. So when you set forth to design a space where self-directed learning happens, you might be surprised when I say, don't worry about the curriculum. Like, actually, don't give it a moment's thought, because the curriculum will emerge from the learner's interests. So what you want to focus on instead is you want to design an environment which will encourage self-directed learning. So it's not an empty space. So what is it? You want to design a space that will encourage innovation and encourage invention. So the learning environment must be first and foremost safe, physically, psychologically, and spiritually. And what does that look like? I mean, I think physically safe, you can figure that out pretty quickly. But psychologically and spiritually, it means that nobody is ever made fun of for anything. It means that you're not judging kids on what they choose to invest their time doing. And spiritually is every spiritual being and journey is different. So everybody needs to feel safe expressing their soul's calling and what they're here to do. So safety is the first thing. The other thing that kind of goes with the psychologically safe is it needs to support asking questions and not knowing the answers. I think we're so used to schools where the teachers either pretend to have all the answers or profess to have all the answers, and the kids are afraid of saying they don't know how to do something or don't know something. It's all a culture of knowing. Even if you don't really know, you pretend that you know. And that's very damaging because the power of learning is sitting with questions and asking powerful questions. And so you want adults that are in the room, in the space, that are asking questions as well, that are working on questions, and the learners can see them working on questions, and who can openly profess that they don't know something and don't pretend to be the sage on the stage that knows everything. So in this environment, you want to design it so that there is spaces for tinkering and experimenting and also failing, trying things. They don't work. I've heard of certain, self-directed learning spaces where when someone says, at the end of the day, as they're reflecting, well, I tried this and I failed, everyone stands up and claps and, yay, you failed, you tried, you failed, that's awesome. Because you can't really learn unless you make mistakes and you fail. So because that goes so counter to our culture, sometimes you do have to do something that's so obvious, like celebrating failure. But really encourage questions, make it a place of great questioning. The other thing is you want to provide tools that the culture is using. And that's going to look different depending on where the center is. Some people are really nervous about technology and bringing computers into a space, but those are the tools of our culture. So have agreement about how computers are used. Maybe computers aren't used just to consume entertainment, but maybe there are devices for creation. But to just exclude them from the environment, I think would be doing a great disservice to children, especially the ones that really maybe have a strong propensity to create with coding and building games and storytelling, which really all require a computer these days. Make sure that all of the learners have access to the resources they need and the mentors that they want to pursue their interests. And these don't have to be expensive resources, but just make sure that the learners know how to get the resources that they want. And they will figure it out by watching the adults, and the adults will model that to them. So the other thing that you really want in a learning environment is you want it to be flexible. I mean, one of the biggest detractors of school buildings and classrooms is that they're not flexible, they're fixed. If you can picture in your mind the rows of desks, it's hard to kind of reconfigure a classroom. So when you're thinking about designing your physical space, make sure that it's flexible so that it can change dynamically based on the needs and the interests of the learners. And always make sure that learners have time in nature. That's one thing that is so missing for all of us. And so it's just a wonderful thing to be able to get outside and have your feet on the ground and just take a deep breath and realize that you're part of something much bigger than yourself. So one of the main goals of the self-directed learning is for learners to learn new skills and innovate. So the environment needs to be designed for innovation. The Lemelson Center for the Study of Innovation and Invention has some really powerful research that leads us to the understanding that everybody can be innovative and inventive, that it's not just like a genetic disposition. And I really love this quote. They say, both invention and innovation derive from a healthy curiosity and an environment that supports asking questions and tinkering.